They forgot to update the address. Again. I paid 10,400 euros for the engagement dinner and walked into a silent, empty venue. Oops, I must have sent the old address, Mom texted. It's too far to go now anyway, she added. I didn't reply. Later came my cousin Raul's story, Dad grinning widely, saying, "Best party ever, zero drama, zero Alvaro." Everyone cheered. I froze all the shared accounts, drained the venue card's full balance, and scheduled my goodbye gift to send at exactly 10:01 p.m. That made them scream and call me 74 times. Seriously? You didn't check the address again? God, you're useless. That was the first thing Dad said when I called him from the hall, standing alone, surrounded by silence and cold canapes. No music, no guests, no lights except the buzzing fluorescents piercing the quiet. I blinked, looked at my phone, and reread Mom's message. Oops, I must have sent the old address. It's too far now anyway. Come home, honey. The message arrived 10 minutes after the start time. By then, I'd paid for the decorations, the catering, the waiters, even the ridiculous flaming champagne entrance Lucia had demanded. I stood there in my suit, watching the two swan ice sculpture slowly melt. I didn't reply to her, to Dad, not even when Lucia finally texted, "Where are you?" at 9:47 p.m., as if I were the one who'd disappeared. The real blow didn't come until that night. Raul posted an Instagram story, a boomerang of everyone toasting, streamers flying, glasses raised, Dad in the center, smiling, hand on Lucia's fiancé Diego's shoulder. The caption, "Best party, zero drama, zero him." There I was, erased. I stared at the video, watching the party I paid for but wasn't invited to, watching the same people I'd bailed out time and again laughing like I'd finally done the right thing by vanishing. And in that moment, something broke. I froze all the shared accounts, Netflix, Spotify, the Apple Music family plan. Then I drained the venue card's remaining balance, including the refundable deposit, the same card they were using for Lucia's honeymoon payments. And then, at exactly 10:01 p.m., I sent my goodbye. A secure folder, scheduled to automatically send to all family chats, the church committee, Dad's old golf group, and Mom's book club. The folder contains screenshots of Lucia's fake invoices and audio of Mom saying, "Just distract him, he never checks the receipts," a copy of the guest list with my name crossed out. By 10:03 p.m., my phone lit up. First Mom, then Dad, then Lucia, then the cousins. By midnight, I had 74 missed calls. I didn't answer. For years, they'd made it look like love, like I was part of something important. Mom would text, "Can you help just this once?" and I'd transfer without asking. Lucia always said, "I'll pay you back," but the receipts never came. I paid for her Invisalign, her dog's surgery, her Netflix account, the family phone plan, even the anniversary dinner where Dad raised his glass and said, "To family." But the wine was mine, the bill was mine, even the tip to the waiter who called me sir, while Lucia rolled her eyes and whispered, "Relax, it's just a meal." They were always behind on something: rent, bills, tuition for her supposed business course that she dropped after 2 weeks. Lucia always had an excuse, and I always had money. At first, I told myself it was kindness, then helpfulness, but eventually, the accounts stopped adding up, because what they took never equaled what they gave. And what they gave, mostly, was silence, sarcasm, or outright entitlement. I once overheard Dad tell his cousin at a barbecue, "Alvaro's good for emergencies. That's his role." They laughed. I pretended not to hear. The engagement dinner was supposed to be the last gift, my goodbye in check form. But even that they stole. I found out later Lucia had booked another venue with my deposit, one across town, flashier, louder, more social media friendly. According to her, she used my name on the reservation, of course. I only knew by checking the catering invoice. The menu included shrimp tartare and bride sangria, none of which I'd approved. They took my money and erased me from the picture. Things didn't break all at once. They unraveled. The family chat went silent for days. I assumed they were embarrassed. Maybe they thought I'd yell. But I didn't. I went quiet. And that's when it all got worse. One afternoon, I stopped by Lucia's apartment to drop off some heels she'd left in my car after the wedding rehearsal. She wasn't home, but the door was unlocked, as always. I went in, called her name. Silence. Her laptop was open on the kitchen counter, email still up. I wasn't trying to snoop. I was going to close it until I saw my name. It was an email thread between her and Mom. Subject: Plan for Saturday. Keep Alvaro out. I froze. Started scrolling. Lucia wrote, "He'll be mad for 5 minutes, then he'll pay for brunch anyway." Mom replied, "Just make sure he doesn't show. He's too awkward with Diego's family. They don't like drama." And then, the worst line of all, "Of course he'll pay. He always does." I didn't know what hurt more, the betrayal or the certainty with which they said it. That same night, Dad posted a status, "Some people thrive on drama. I'm proud of my daughter for rising above it." He didn't tag me. He didn't have to. The comments were even worse. My Aunt Carmen wrote, "Didn't you raise her right? Not like certain men I won't name." And my cousin Raul replied with a laughing emoji, "You mean the family ATM?" Then, someone sent me a screenshot of another chat group, a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years. They were organizing a family brunch for the day after the engagement dinner. No invitation for me. One line stood out, "Let's keep it clean. No meltdowns. No Alvaro." I sat at my desk, staring at the screen. No anger, not even surprise, just weariness. The next day, Mom texted, "Hi honey, could you help us with the honeymoon deposit? Lucia's card was declined and she's really stressed." I didn't reply. Then she pushed. "It would just be temporary. We'll pay you back, we promise. And besides, family means being there. Don't be spiteful about the dinner thing." That's when I understood something. They never said sorry. Not once. Not for the money, not for the manipulation, not for excluding me from something I paid for. To them, I was a silent tool. Not anymore. I started going through my bank statements. I found 6 charges I didn't authorize. 389 euros for Lucia's makeup trial, 1,120 euros to a florist I'd never contacted, and a suspicious transfer to an account ending in 82, hers. I called the bank, blocked the account, requested an internal report. Then, I canceled every automatic payment linked to the family card. Their electricity bill, canceled. Monthly grocery top-up, declined. Even the wedding website URL I'd registered for them now redirected to a blank page with this message: "This celebration has been canceled. Refunds in progress." Not entirely true, but the message was clear. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was loaded. Lucia unfollowed me on everything. Dad posted, "Grow up." Mom sent a rose emoji. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because they still thought I was coming back. They had no idea this was just the beginning. The restaurant was filled with white tablecloths and candles. The kind of place where a fork cost more than many of the meals I grew up with. Lucia had booked the back terrace. Curated, she'd written in an email thread I wasn't on. I wasn't invited, but I went anyway. Diego, her fiancé, was talking to his parents. Dad was halfway through his wine. Mom was laughing with a cousin I hadn't seen in 10 years. No one noticed me at first. Until the waiter, Javier, approached and politely asked, "Excuse me, are you at the Rebus Galvin party?" I smiled. "Unfortunately," I said. I walked in without hesitation. The clinking of cutlery stopped midair. A napkin fell to the floor. Lucia's smile evaporated like cheap perfume. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. I shrugged. "I thought I'd stop by, say hello, see what a 10,400 euro party looks like when you remove the one who paid for it." Diego looked confused. His father, Don Ramon, narrowed his eyes. My own father stood up slowly, as if he thought he still had control. This isn't the time, Alvaro. I turned to him. You made that decision the day you said, in front of everyone, that it was zero drama, zero him. His jaw twitched. Lucia stepped forward. You can't just show up and ruin everything. I let out a short, dry laugh. Ruin it, Lucia? I funded it. Every rose, every rented champagne flute, even the playlist was downloaded with my Apple Music account. I took out my phone, opened screenshots, held them up like court exhibits. This is your email to Mom. Just make sure Alvaro doesn't find out. Transfer the money from his card, and then we'll figure it out. Lucia paled. I turned to Diego. And this one's good. Your future wife wrote, he's a loser, but his money is good. He won't fight back. He never does. Gasps. Murmurs. Mom stood up, flustered. Let's all just not make this worse. I continued. Worse, Mom? You helped. I saw your reply. Of course he'll pay. He always does. And you know what? You were right. I did. Until today. I looked back at Diego. He had the face of someone who just realized the collapsing building was the one he was standing in. Tell me, Diego, how much of your honeymoon did you pay for? Because the 3,000 euros charged to that villa in Formentera, that was my card. I didn't say it to humiliate anyone. I said it because no one else had. Lucia yelled, "Are you crazy?" But her voice cracked halfway. No, I said. I'm just awake. Finally. Then I tapped one more screen. And in case anyone wants proof, a link. A shared folder. Every transaction. Every screenshot. I wasn't looking for revenge. I just wanted to stop pretending nothing had happened. I sent it to everyone at the table. Phones buzzed in unison. You could feel the silence tighten like a knot in the throat. Then, Don Ramon stood. Is this true? He asked quietly. Diego didn't answer. Lucia's hands were shaking. She reached for him, but Diego stepped away. You said he offered to help, Diego said, slowly. You said he insisted. Lucia opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked at me. I didn't blink. Then Diego looked at his father, then at Lucia, and said, I need some air. And he left. Lucia stood frozen. Her eyes darted around, looking for an escape. Then she yelled, You always do this. You always make it about you. I stepped close enough so only she could hear. You made me invisible. I'm just showing the ghost you built. And then I turned to the table, to all the relatives with their fake smiles, drinking wine they hadn't paid for. Let me be clear, I said. I'm not your ATM anymore. Not your plan B. Not your punching bag. Dad raised his voice. You're humiliating us. I cut him off. No. You did that yourselves. I walked out. No one followed, except one quiet cousin. He caught up to me in the parking lot. I saw the screenshots, he said. If you ever need someone to testify, I nodded. I didn't speak. I got in my car and, for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was running from something. I felt like I was finally driving towards something. They started calling before I even left the parking lot. First, Mom. 7 missed calls in a row. Then, 3 minutes later, again. A text. Please don't do this. Don't make it permanent. But it already was. They thought they were still entitled to a conversation. That after all this, we'd sit down, say we're all tired, cry a little, and I'd go back to being useful. Maybe a little colder, but still theirs. No. I didn't yell. I didn't post screenshots. I didn't explain. I just went completely silent. The next day, I'd closed every payment channel I controlled. Utilities, canceled. Mom's health insurance, terminated. Wedding services, revoked. Shared logins, subscriptions, auto-renewals, deleted. And then came the second wave. Softer, calculated. Lucia sent a long text, curiously sweet. Look, we were stressed. I know it looked bad, but we can talk. And then you overreacted. But I forgive you. I didn't reply. I deleted the whole conversation. Permanently. By day 3, the phone went mute, and that silence was louder than any scream. I saw the family group chat light up. A cousin I barely knew wrote, "Well, if he's not answering, it's his problem." Day 4 brought a different kind of panic. Real panic. Now they were desperate. Mom can't pick up her prescription. The system says her coverage was terminated. Why is the wedding website down? We tried to log into the Family Prime account. It says access revoked. I never replied. For the first time in years, I wasn't the one left waiting. I was unreachable. That same week, I signed a lease in another part of town. Smaller building, quieter street. No one knew my name. I bought new furniture not because I needed it, but because I didn't want to bring a single chair from the past into my new life. I didn't block them. I just didn't update them. Didn't share my new address. Didn't leave clues. Didn't say I need space. I took it. I technically kept my old number, but I turned off the phone they knew. Bought a new SIM card and gave that number only to the bank and security verification systems. It wasn't hiding. It was a clean erase. On day 5, Dad called. I saw his name flash across the screen. I let it ring. I felt nothing. He left a voicemail. "You're no hero, Alvaro. You'll end up like your grandfather." And another, running away like a child. A man doesn't disappear. A man fights. I listened to them once, then deleted them. And I never listened to another one again. They never understood that this was never about the dinner or the screenshots. It was about the fact that for the first time in my life, I didn't come back. Every other year, I'd explode, disappear for a week, then return with money, help, or silence. This time, I left and locked every door behind me. Their messages became uglier. Lucia accused me of ruining the most important moment of her life. Said I sabotaged her happiness. Mom tried sweetness. Family isn't perfect, but it's yours. My response: none. I wasn't looking for vengeance. I simply cut off access and moved on with my life. Mornings were quieter without "Can you do a quick transfer?" texts during breakfast. Lunch breaks were no longer punctuated by guilt trips. Weekends became actual weekends, not errands disguised as familial duties. I stopped expecting gratitude. Why? I finally owed them nothing, and they owed me nothing. One night, walking home, I saw a text from an unknown number. A screenshot of an old subscription renewal, the last one processed under my name. No greeting. Just a comment. "So you were serious?" Yes, I was absolutely serious. I didn't burn the bridge. I buried it and never marked the grave. 5 months. That's how long it had been since the night everything exploded. I didn't reply. I didn't check the group chats. New bank, new apartment, new rules, no family. Ever. And it worked. I could breathe. My money stayed exactly where I left it. My head, quiet. The silence no longer needed defending. It simply existed. I'd finally started to believe that was it. I'd done it. I'd left, shed the mess like skin. Then Diego called. Unknown number. Familiar voice. "Look, I know you probably don't ever want to hear from any of us, but something happened." I should have hung up. Every cell in my body told me to. But I didn't. "Lucia opened a line of credit in your name. I found out because the bank called me. They thought I was her husband." He paused. "Used some old paperwork, a power of attorney from years ago. Apparently, she said you knew. Said I'd approved it. That maybe you still cared enough to be useful again." I went to the bank. No lawyer. No theatrics. No panic. Just the kind of rage that freezes, silent and sharp as a scalpel. The account manager, a woman in her 30s, kept checking my ID over and over, her eyes darting nervously. "This isn't a mistake, Mr. Rebus. These are deliberate, coordinated acts of identity fraud." I nodded. A personal loan. A business card in the name of Event Consulting. 2 attempted applications for COVID relief funds. Total, nearly 18,000 euros. All tied to my name. My credit, my old life. I signed the complaint. The investigation began. And then, as if the universe had scripted it, my mother walked through the door. She froze, as if she'd just seen a corpse sit up. We locked eyes. She walked slowly towards me, like a guilty child crossing a glass floor. "Please," she said, her voice small. "Don't do this. You don't know the whole story." I waited. "Lucia didn't mean to hurt you." She panicked. "You disappeared. She thought you'd moved on. She was going to pay it back. We just needed help to get started." "She committed fraud," I replied. "She's family, Alvaro." "Exactly. And you used that word like a weapon." Her eyes welled up. I didn't flinch. "You don't do this to family," she whispered. I looked at her steadily. "You did it to me first." 3 days later, Lucia was arrested mid-appointment at an upscale beauty salon. Nails half done, expensive curls pinned to the side. They handcuffed her in front of the clients. She'd probably told stories about her quiet brother who always fixes everything. Someone filmed it. I wasn't there. I didn't share it. I didn't even know about it until days later. The video hit TikTok. Over 40,000 views in a single night. Her yelling this is a mistake, clinging to a designer bag she'd bought in my name, begging the officers not to make a scene. But the scene was already made. The headlines followed. Bride-to-be arrested for identity theft. Brother exposes €18,000 scam. Family betrayal. Sister's fraud leads to public arrest. I didn't post anything. Didn't tweet. Didn't leave clues. Still, people tagged me. "That's your sister? She used your name and thought you wouldn't notice." Silent brother. Loud karma. Diego called again. Cancelled the engagement. Publicly. Officially. No drama. No comments. Just gone. His message to me was also quiet. I didn't know the half of it. "You were right to walk away. I'm sorry I doubted you." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Everything I'd ever wanted to say, I'd already said. They just never listened. Now, they weren't entitled to hear it. Weeks later, I was sitting in the bank again, severing all the final ties. "Emergency contact?" the woman asked. I smiled. "None." She hesitated, waiting for a name. "Leave it blank," I said. "On purpose." She nodded and typed. And that moment, that blank space, felt cleaner than any apology I never received. Leaving, I saw a familiar car parked down the street. Same dent in the bumper, same faded air freshener. Dad was hunched over the steering wheel, engine off, just watching, not angry, not seething like before. Just small. I walked past. Didn't look. Didn't nod. I owed him no acknowledgement. And here's the truth I wish I'd understood sooner. I wasn't weak for staying. I was useful, obedient, silent. And they loved that silence because it gave them everything. But silence isn't loyalty. And when I finally stopped being quiet, not with words, but with actions, they didn't know what to do. So now I'm gone. I'm not a victim. I'm not a son. I'm not a brother. I'm not theirs. They wanted to erase me. They forgot to update the address.